Okay, my name is Shane. Okay, a little bit about me. My name is Shane, and I have an 8-year-old son with autism. I work for Ralph Family Empowerment, and I handle our assistive technology. I also handle more things than I can tell you about. My job description used to be nice and easy when I was a waiter at Red Lobster. Now it's a lot more complex. I review what I call autism apps on my personal website, and there are many more apps reviewed on the site that I won't get to today. A lot of them that aren't AAC apps. So, and don't get hung up on the term autism apps. I call them autism apps on my website for the search engines. You have to, when you're designing a website, you have to have keyword-focused web pages in order to get the search engines to find me and to pull me up high in their results. And so I do that, and I chose the word autism app since my website is all about autism. But nearly all the apps were freely given to me because of how well my website ranks with major search engines. And due to that ranking, my site has influence, and developers want me to review their apps. And also, the big deal about my reviews is that, as far as I can tell, no other reviews that I've found are based on personal experience using these apps firsthand. I have them all, and I've used them all. So that's a big deal. I don't write reviews on apps that I've only seen pictures of and read about. I do reviews based on firsthand use of the app. Oh, and AutismEpicenter.com also has plenty of screenshots so you can see what the apps look like. I'm a very visual person myself, so and you're going to see a couple screenshots of each app in this presentation. An app is a small application or a program, a computer program. I have the image down there in the lower right of a huge, big, old book with some pamphlets, a stack of pamphlets right beside them. The idea there is to give you an idea of, say, that big book would be Microsoft Office, and the apps that are available for smartphones and the iPad and the Apple devices are kind of like those little pamphlets. One of those little pamphlets is meant to give you the idea of what an app is. So hopefully that little visual helps you as much as it helps me remember to say that. Developers can put their apps on sale whenever they want, so they control the price. So the prices can fluctuate quite a bit for some apps. Not necessarily for the AAC apps, though. I've noticed for the most part they seem to be pretty steady. There's lots of competition among the apps. Developers listen to feedback, and they offer periodic updates, free updates. I've yet to see an update that costs money. Moving on to the fourth slide. The symbol on the far left of the two devices next to each other is meant to indicate throughout this slideshow, and I use the same symbols on my website also, that an app is compatible with the iPhone and the iPod Touch. Generally, an app is compatible with both of those devices, not one or the other. The next one, the next symbol of just the iPad, means it's compatible with the iPad only. The third symbol with the two devices in the middle of the iPad is meant to indicate it's a universal app. One purchase and it runs great on all those devices. So that's the ideal way right now to develop an app. And then the fourth one with the two devices outside of the iPad, I call this separate but equal. It means that the app can be purchased for the iPad and it looks great on there, and you can purchase a separate version that's for the iPod Touch and the iPhone. So, oh, and I'll mention verbally if an app is developed for a different platform, because some of them are developed for different platforms also. Move on to the next slide. Okay, in the scope of this presentation, I want to cover the apps that I won't be covering. These are apps I haven't reviewed yet, so I can't tell you much about them. I don't discuss apps that I haven't had a chance to personally review, to personally use, and spend a decent amount of time using, because I don't want to give you any good info about a bad app or vice versa. And if you don't use them, you don't know of any bugs or design flaws, so I just shut up about that. But I want you to know of their existence. The first app that says Grace in the middle of it, I have 5 icons on the screen for the apps, right? A while ago I contacted them, they contacted me, I contacted them being the developer of the app. They said they'd be happy to give me the app, but they haven't given me the app. So probably just some communication mix-up. The next one with the big P and the A in the middle of it, the red icon on the right, this is Predictable. It's a brand new app for the iPad. I have it, but I haven't reviewed it yet. The review should be up on my website within the next month or so, maybe sooner. The picture of the cute blonde youngster down on the left. This is iCommunicate. I don't know much about it, but funny enough, while I was preparing for this webinar, the developers of iCommunicate, that's Gremby Apps, they messaged me. So sometime in the near future, I'll be reviewing this app and probably other apps put out by Gremby. The next one with the funny blue character with a word balloon coming out of his mouth in the middle on the bottom row. This is iCom. I'm guessing that's short for iCommunicate, but the name was already taken by the app with the cute girl in it, so they cut it down to iCom. Anyways, it's a free app, so anybody can review it. Vocabeans is the next one that's white and has no contrast behind it because I didn't want to alter their icon just so you could see it better. But this one I simply haven't gotten around to contacting the developer yet, and he hasn't contacted me. They're spinning out apps faster than I can spin out my reviews. Okay, let's go over to the next slide. This is sort of my table of contents slide. And what I was going to do, oh, thank you for the clapping hands, I appreciate that. What I was going to do originally, and generally my presentations are dynamic in the fact that I let my audience choose which app they want me to talk about first, and I kind of bounce around from app to app. These are all hyperlinks on there. I can't do that for you guys due to the limitations of Illuminate. So here is my title of content slide, and now I'm going to decide for you which one we're going to discuss first. Going on to my next slide. This is AAC Speech Buddy, and it is, you can see from the icon in the upper left corner, it's a universal app, and it's also available in the Android marketplace. And yes, the name of the app is all one word, that's not a typo. This is the first app to allow you to share speech sets that you created or customized. This really opens up the ability to collaborate, and in case you're wondering, a speech set is an organized set of images with corresponding words / sentences. Think of them as like custom digital PEX icons with text and audible speech. Is everyone familiar with PEX? Feedback? Give me a check mark if you're all familiar with PEX, or should I explain it? Okay, PEX is called the, okay, hold on a second.
Shane, there's a question from Derek. He says, will you be making an icon to show that an app is also available for Android, or is it already listed somewhere in the reviews on the site?
On my reviews on the site, I don't have an icon for it, but I do point out if it's available for a different platform. The thing is that Apple devices are so popular right now, and their App Store has so many more apps that apps for the Android, I guess, would probably be the second most popular, but they're a far, far distant second. So developers are coughing out apps for Apple's products much quicker than for anything else. Okay, about AAC Speech Buddy, and feel free to interrupt me at any time if anyone has questions. It's important to know you can't customize this app at all on the iPhone or the iTouch or the iPad. All customization has to take place on a computer through their website. This is one of the only AAC apps that does that. Oh, I was back on the PEX icons. That stands for Picture Exchange Communication System. A lot of parents are familiar with it if they have nonverbal kids, because that's one of the first things that a speech therapist get you going on, because a lot of children with autism and a lot of other developmental disabilities tend to be very visual. So that's what PEC stands for, Picture Exchange Communication System. One of the things I like about AAC Speech Buddy is that the screen can be flipped to written words that you can show to someone when the environment is too loud. So that'd be handy in a busy shopping mall or a deli or something. I can't think of any other AAC app that can do that. I think that's the only one. It looks more fun and kid-friendly than most other AAC apps. I'm going to go ahead and flip over to my next slide, which you'll see has a couple of screenshots for you while I'm going over those other bullet points real quick here. You can choose between many different voices, but they're not really too natural sounding. It'd be nice if they sounded more natural. No text-to-speech ability. So you can't type something and have AAC Speech Buddy say what you typed. That's text-to-speech, or TTS. No ability to increase the image size, and the images down across the bottom are small even on the iPad. And the images I'm talking about, if you're looking at the slide that's up there, would be the images that are kind of faded down underneath of the blue part, the blue portion of that second screenshot. So this was a $44.99 app 2 weeks ago when I checked it. But like I told you earlier, sometimes that changes, but I want to give you an idea anyways. I'm going to flip over to my next slide. And this is AutoVerbal Pro, as you can see. And it's also available in Spanish, French, Guy Talk, Girl Talk versions. Guy Talk and Girl Talk use adult male and female voices respectively. And naturally the French version speaks German and the Spanish version speaks Portuguese. That's my joke. Where's my laugh track? Okay, anyways. The Pro version can use either young male or young female voices, but it's a little more expensive. And the full name is AutoVerbal Talking Soundboard Pro. AutoVerbal spawned from text-to-voice ringtone apps, which the developer designed originally. So this app was sort of a natural progression. You can choose between internet voices or built-in voices. I'm going to go ahead and switch this slide over to the next one that gives you screenshots because I'm so visual. Internet voices require Wi-Fi access and they're more natural sounding, but they also make AutoVerbal slower to respond. Built-in voices make things faster, but they aren't as clear. They aren't as, yeah, okay, that's my shot at another joke. I'm kind of slurring the word clear. All right, at the present time, I don't recommend AutoVerbal. Its simplicity is nice, I like that, but in this case, it's also the app's downfall because it's limiting. Let me explain. With AutoVerbal, you scroll horizontally and vertically to find the image or word you want to say, and that would be in the screenshot to the left there. That's the main screen. So you scroll up and down, left and right. And when you're scrolling rows and columns, it's tough to find the word you want in a long, long row. It also has bugs, and it crashed on me more than once while I was using it. And by saying crashed, I mean that while using it, some portion of AutoVerbal became disabled, making the app completely unusable. So this app isn't really customizable enough, and its expandability is very limited by the design. You don't want to have to scroll up or down, left and right, any more than you already have to, so that can be frustrating. It is $9.99 as of January. Am I missing any questions? Anybody got anything else? Okay, I'm going to move on to the next app. Next slide, too. Another universal app, as you can see by the icon up there. This is Expressive, and Expressive was recently updated, and it looks like the developers sort of addressed most of the issues I had with the app. But I can't say I'm overly impressed with it. It just seems incomplete. I tried to add a new image to it just to customize the app, and it froze up on me. It freezes up on me every time I go to add an image. The artwork is inconsistent. It looks like it was grabbed from the web. Let me flip over to the next slide for you. See a couple of the screenshots here. I'm just a little confused by this app. You could choose between a male or female voice, but the voices sound like they were recorded in an empty hallway. They echo a bit. It's hard to repeat something without typing / finding the images again. A lot of the other apps, you can just click somewhere and it repeats the phrase that you've chosen. Expressive just doesn't offer enough to be a serious AAC app, in my opinion. $34.99. Uh-oh, hand raised.
Shane, Derek said yes, it looks all like word clip art.
Yeah, and I agree with that completely. When I'm paying $34.99 for an app, I would like to see consistent, nice graphics. So I echo that, the same thing. It does look a lot like word clip art. I'm flipping over to the next slide. Actually, I already did flip to it, and you probably see it up there. This is iAssist Communicator. It was designed by a mom, and it was developed to fill the niche between communication apps that offer too much functionality and the ones that are too simplistic. And those right there are pretty much the words of that mom. In my mind, this app is just about right for someone who's between severely affected by their disability and moderately affected. So I guess you'd call that moderately severe, right? By design, this app limits you to 4 categories on the screen at any one time. You can completely switch out the categories with something entirely different, or you can modify the choices within one of the categories. And I find it pretty easy to do that. Tap a category, and then you'll see 4 images, which are 4 choices. I'm going to advance to the next slide for those folks who are visual. That screen with the 4 images on the right there, that's the screen iAssist starts with. Touching files on the bottom of any screen takes you to a full list of every category. That'd be what I've given you on the right side there. And naturally, when you touch a category or a pick, the app talks, and it talks nice and slow and very clearly. And like many of the AAC apps, you can customize it by adding your own picks and your own voice or someone else's voice. By default, it uses a mom's voice. Me being a dad, I like it to default to a dad's voice, but that's just me. Let me see, where am I at? I have an unusually large amount of speaking notes with this presentation because apps change so much along with technology changing so much. Usually I don't have so many speaking notes with me. I like to kind of do my presentations off the cuff. It's a bit more difficult with a whole bunch of apps. So if I repeat something, just pretend like I just said it for the first time, okay? You can't edit the default category, speech, or the default images under speech with this app. You can only add your own stuff, and most AAC apps let you edit everything, but not this one. And thank you for the happy face, whoever just did that. iAssist would be more scalable if it allowed more than 4 choices within a category, That would make it more feasible for a larger population who could benefit from having more choices. It'd be good if that was an option. That way you could still keep the app in its intended niche, yet you could open it up to a wider customer base. The code behind the app is solid, and that's a big deal. I couldn't crash it, try as I may, and I tried. I try with all the apps to crash them. I think iAssist Communicator fills its niche pretty nicely. $29.99 last I checked. Flipping over to my next slide. This is iConverse, and it was designed for the moderate severe to severe population, in my estimate anyways. iConverse sports a nice clean interface. It's not cluttered, which I find refreshing. It's a very simple app showing 6 tiles on the screen. You can add your own images and your own voice, but you can't edit the default pre-installed tiles. I'm calling them tiles because iConverse, they call those picture icons tiles also, so I'm trying to stick to their lingo here. You can start at ground zero and customize the app, though. You can, you don't want to add too many tiles to it, though, because the side scrolling through pages of 6 tiles can be frustrating, especially when what you're looking for is on the 13th page, scrolling all the way to the side for that. But if you choose not to record, glad I got some water sitting right here. If you choose not to record your own voice when you create a new tile, you can choose between Nick, Jim, Amy, or Steve to speak for you as far as built-in voices go. And it's nice to have that option, but Nick, Jim, and company don't sound very natural. What they sound like is an electronic voice. Okay, by turning on alerts, you add functionality. And alerts is something that iConverse, it's a little section, a little setting that they have that they call alerts, right? So what happens is when you tap a tile, you not only hear the spoken word, but you also see it popped up and displayed for easy reading. If you tap a button or multiple buttons, I better slow down a little bit. I'm starting to feel like I'm moving kind of fast here. But anyway, if you tap multiple buttons or you tap a whole bunch really fast at the same time, it sounds like you're in a canyon with a bunch of people talking at the same time. And that's something the developer should fix because that's a bug. On the other hand, someone who doesn't have a voice and wants to use that app might find it kind of hilarious because people with disabilities definitely have a sense of humor like the rest of us. And I just remembered to move over to my next slide. So here's some screenshots of iConverse that you've probably been waiting for. I'm going to go ahead and move over to the next slide now, which is One Voice. Only for the iPad. One Voice is, and I just reviewed it on Autism Epicenter on my site. So One Voice is obviously a brand new app that just came out this month. It has a beautiful, simple interface that's very easy to figure out and use immediately, and that's important. It features text-to-speech, which, as I mentioned before, means you type and then it talks. So this app can be used by early learners by configuring it so it says the word or the image immediately. You know, touch it and it says it. But it can also be set up so you can make sentences and then touch speak to then hear it talk and say the whole sentence. So it's a little flexible there. As I said, it just debuted this month, so there are some kinks to work out. The developer has told me he's going to fix these things soon. And in general, I'm in really good communication with a lot of the developers. As I mentioned earlier, my website seems to have a lot of influence, which is nice because when I find things that are flaws in the software, in the apps, I point them out for the family's benefit who is thinking about purchasing the app, but I'm not pointing it out so much as to take a stab at the developers because I want to have a positive relationship with them. What I'm finding is most of the time they're quick to get those things fixed, so it's a good influence that I'm having on them. But anyways, among my criticisms right now, the settings button is right there in the upper right corner. Now that I'm remembering to flip over, you see this one's only on the iPad, so you get much bigger images here to look at. The settings, as you can see, is right up there in the upper right corner, and it should be tucked away in the device's own settings area or password protected, because little fingers like those of my sons, for devices like, for apps like this, apps like most of the AAC apps that are meant to be in the child's hands, the settings need to be tucked away so that they're not messing with those. There's a bit of a delay with this app before the speech is heard, and the voices aren't completely natural. They sound a little electronic. The developer says he's going to use the same voices that are used with Proloquo to Go, which I may have time to get to. But those are a cappella voices, and they're very clear. Many of the icons, the images are the same, and this will likely be an issue for visual learners. Icons need to be differentiated visually. And one more thing, the I and me, those are the images that have been chosen within the app, those are decidedly male images, while you, right, Y-O-U, the image for that is decidedly female, which is kind of interesting. And in my opinion, they should probably be unisex or gender-neutral images. $199.99, so $200 for this app.
Hi Shane, I just wanted to give you a time check. We're at about 10:33.
Let me move over to my next slide. Proloquo to Go. Wasn't I just saying something about that? Okay, well, no discussion about AAC apps is really complete without mentioning Proloquo to Go, or Proloquo to Go, however you pronounce it. I think the app itself says Proloquo. Anyhow, it's a heavy hitter. You can see by my first bulleted point that Proloquo to Go is packed with options, and it's very scalable and fully customizable. It can be pared down to very few options for a new learner, or it can be left wide open for an adult to use all of its features, and anywhere in between that. You can also scale the size of the images. You can adjust how it pronounces words. You can change the colors. I can change to my next slide while I'm talking about this. You can back up all your custom settings and restore it from that backup. It offers text-to-speech. In fact, the only thing I can think of that it doesn't currently offer is the ability to display the app on a projector or a large screen TV unit. And I brought that to the developers' attention while I was preparing this presentation, and they said they'd be looking into the possibility of adding that functionality too. So that would be nice, especially for a young child in a classroom who wants to share with the class how they communicate since they can't use their voice. Having that functionality, being able to show this app on a projector to the whole classroom would be huge for that child, and kind of introducing them to the classroom and everything. So they're going to look into that. But this is an all-around AAC solution. And as you can see by the icon in the upper corner, it's a universal app. So if you own an iPad and an iPhone, or like me, a Pad and a Pro, which is what I call iPod Touch, iPad, and a MacBook Pro. Well, it doesn't run on the MacBook Pro, but anyways, I just like saying Pad and a Pro. Okay, anyhow, it runs great on all those, like I said before, iPhone, iPod Touch, and iPad. The voices are really natural for being electronic voices. Children's voices could be a little better. And this app forms picture sentences on the strip up top. This would be like you're looking at either one of the images that are open on the screen right now. You see the one on the left says, "I need to go to the bathroom." It's got the kind of the pictures above them. So great for visual learners. And regarding the images, Proloquo Go uses symbol sticks, which look very professional. You can see them all down. Thank you for moving that hand along the side there. There we go. And the symbol sticks graphics are packed into this app. And there's a bunch of them, like thousands, more than you could shake a stick at. Okay, anyways. This is $189.99, and I haven't seen the price of this app change in a long time. And if you want to see it in action, the developers tell me that all Apple App Store, alright, I'm getting ahead of myself. All Apple stores say they tend to be in the malls. In Sacramento, I know they have one at Arden Fair because I was in there. You can just go in and ask them to show you the app. So especially for any families that are thinking of using it, they can go in and test it live. So that's nice. But then again, I've been in an Apple store and they are crazy busy. And I guess also I'm not a big fan of malls or shopping or any of that when it physically means I have to go into a mall where there's tons of people. But that might just be me. I'm going to slide over to my next slide. This is Tap Speak Button. And let me look at my time. Okay. Tap Speak Button is available for all Apple devices. You can see it has my little separate but equal symbol in the upper left, but with separate purchases. It's an app that's very simple and it's made to be simple. You touch the big round circle. Let me flip over to my next slide. You touch the big round circle, that's the switch or the button, and it plays whatever you recorded. And obviously it's for those with severe limitations as far as motor skills go. I've used Tap Speak Button like crazy and it never crashes, freezes, or blows up. So the app is stable. My son, when I was testing it, my son liked when I recorded, well, you see on the screen, I screamed into it once, and so he likes just being able to touch the button and hear his dad scream. And then there's Darth Vader, the classic bad guy voice, and my son likes hearing that too. Anyways, you can change the colors of the button to red, yellow, blue, or green, and you can make the button click when it's pressed so it actually seems more like a real button. Those are global changes that you can make, which means you can't make one button red and another blue. They all got to be the same color. That's what I mean by a global change. You make the change, it affects everything within the app. But you can record all the messages you like. $9.99. This one looks awfully similar, doesn't it? I moved over to my next slide. This is Tap Speak Choice. And Tap Speak Choice is the first augmentative and alternative communication app with the ability to use external switches. It can use R.J. Cooper's iPad cordless super switch and iPad switch interface for external switches. I think I took that bit of verbiage straight off the developer's webpage. You can use one or two switches for auto scanning and step scan and choose from an array of scanning options. It really offers a lot. My review of this app isn't on Autism Epicenter yet, so this is truly a first peek just for those of you who are on this webinar. I'm going to advance to my next slide so you can see the interface. Anyway, switches are generally needed for those who are more severely affected by the disability, so you can regard Tap Speak Choice as an app along those same lines. The voice used in the app is very clear and very natural sounding, which is always appreciated, and it's clearly a young boy's voice. You can change it, but you have to edit each icon or image or symbol used and re-record over each one with the voice you want. It could be a little time consuming. The drag and drop setup is nice, and the idea behind it is great, but I found it a little frustrating also because the app didn't seem to always sense my touch during setup. But this app is loaded with settings. It's really adjustable on so many levels, and the app makes better use of the multi-touch interface than any other app I'll be speaking about or have spoke about so far in this presentation. Not just during use of the app, but also during setup. It really makes use of the multi-touch interface. The Dynavox Mayor Johnson 4500 symbol core PCS library, that's undoubtedly words I didn't type, because it sounds like a robot from Star Wars. But anyway, that is the core library included in the app, and that's very nice. So that means clean, professional, consistent icons throughout, and the PCS library of images uses nice artwork. But it's too easy to enter edit mode by tapping the title bar, and that kind of falls along the lines I was telling you earlier about any app that's meant to be in a child's hands or someone that doesn't have great motor skills. Those kind of things really need to be more concealed. Some apps also you don't need a manual for. This one you do, and it's online and it's easy to understand. While I was customizing this app and creating my own board and editing icons and stuff, Tap Speak Choice crashed on me a couple times. And it reset all the options, which left me puzzled for a while as to why, when I touched the icons, none of them spoke to me. They just made a dull ding sound. But I figured it out a bit later after checking all the settings. That's a big problem, and it makes the app unstable and unreliable. But I'm sure the developer, whose name is Ted Conley, I'm sure he'll fix it as soon as I get the info to him, and he'll get an update released. In fact, I'm thinking I may have emailed him about it already. $99.99 is the price for this app. I'm going over. Oh yeah, here's some more screenshots. Forgot I had those included there. So while you're looking at those, keeping my eye on the time, I'm going to move over to my next slide. This is Tap to Talk, and it's available for the Android, and it's available for the Nintendo DS. In fact, it's one of the only, I think it may be the only AAC app I know of, at least, that's available for the Nintendo DS. Tap to Talk is free, and that was a long pause because although it's free, if you want to get any kind of functionality out of it, you have to subscribe to their service so you can edit and create and customize, and that service is $100 a year. So if you're like me, you hate subscription services. Then again, maybe you love them. I don't know. I don't like them. So the developer contends that someone could just pay for a year, edit and customize your heart's content during that year, and then don't resubscribe until you need to customize the app again. But we all know that people, and especially kids, change constantly. So you would need to subscribe year after year. And for me, frankly, I have enough recurring bills. You can customize the app, but only through the website that you'd be paying for each year. My obvious bias of hating subscription services aside, Tap to Talk is viable. It's very viable. It's nice, and it's even got a beautiful interface. Assistix is the developer, and they gave me full reign of their online designer so I could review the app's true capabilities, and it's very capable, no question. The artwork is professional and wonderful. In fact, so you can see it, I'll move over to the next slide. It ought to be professional and wonderful for something you're paying $100 a year for. This app is expandable, but you can only use a max of 12 icons in any one album. That's the terminology they use within the app. You can't hide icons like you can with some of the other AAC apps, but you can share your created albums if you pay Assistix another large sum of money and upgrade to their agency edition. I don't see parents doing that. One last thing about Tap to Talk. If you or anyone you know is thinking about getting this app, please email me so I can pray for you, or for them, or for both of you. I'm going to move over to my next slide. This is a brand new app. You can see it's got the separate but equal symbol in the upper left corner. It just came out earlier this month, and I just reviewed it on my site. And TouchChat has settings galore and functionality like crazy. It's right along the same lines with Proloquo to Go. Excuse me, while I get another drink of water. And Proloquo to Go, you know, pretty well sets the standards in AAC apps that everyone else is trying to achieve. But TouchChat also has some things that Proloquo to Go doesn't have. And I noticed that Proloquo to Go, you know what I'm saying, has some things that this one doesn't have. TouchChat offers a voice recording functionality. Let me flip over to my next screen so you can see some screenshots. It has a voice recording functionality for exchanging messages between, say, your kid's teacher and you. If you're a parent, if you're not a parent, well, you understand what I'm saying there, between parents and teachers. And it looks pretty sweet. TouchChat also gives you the ability to change the background color of a cell of an individual item or an icon. And that is huge for differentiating cells for visual learners. Proloquo to Go doesn't offer either of those features, the recording functionality or being able to change the background color. And this seems to be just the tip of what this app offers, what TouchChat offers. It uses the same pixel sticks images that Proloquo uses. I'm going to cut it down to Proloquo. Hopefully if the developers hear me saying it and cutting the name in half, they won't mind. And it uses the same voices too. So it uses those a cappella voices that are nice and clear. Proloquo can make picture sentences, as I pointed out when I showed you that app, and TouchChat doesn't. And Proloquo is in high definition, but TouchChat isn't, even though they named it TouchChat HD, the iPad version anyhow. TouchChat HD. I can see pictures, excuse me, I can see pixels around the artwork in TouchChat, and that pretty well indicates it's not in high definition. It looks like TouchChat and Proloquo are on a similar level as far as being really high-level AAC apps. They're kind of in a league of their own. With TouchChat, though, the ability with in-app purchases to add functionality to the app really make it skyrocket in terms of usefulness. For one, I know you can purchase additional vocabulary sets and get the ability to exchange vocabulary sets, and that's a big deal. Seems like I've said a big deal. I've said that many times in this presentation. Okay, anyways. This is a heavy hitter in the realm of AAC apps right now. This is a serious one. In my review of TouchChat, I noticed a couple things they need to improve, though. As I mentioned, it's not in high definition. These are kind of tiny things compared to what this app offers, because it was really hard to find issues with it. The developer should either take the HD out of the name or make it in high definition, because it's a little misleading. I think a lot of people find it a little misleading. Also, the function buttons for clear text, home, etc. You can see the clear button in that one large image in front of you. They kind of blend in well with the other buttons, and I think they should stand out visually. But you can change that yourself, I just found out, so that's really a tiny, tiny flaw. This app is $149.99 or $299.99 currently, depending on the version you want. There's also in-app purchases if you want to add functionality to Touch Chat. It looks like I got about 10 minutes remaining. Do I got 10 minutes to continue with my presentation, LaCandice?
Yep, you're good to go, Shane.
Okay, thanks. So I'm going to move over to, thank you for the applause, Claire. I had 2 sets of screenshots for this. Kind of a funny thing happens when you have a lot of speaking notes, which I don't usually do. I tend to forget that I have another page of things. Anyway, it's open on your screen hopefully by now. Because I only have 10 minutes left, I'm going to go over to my next slide. And this app, Voice for You, is also available in Japanese. And it's also available in the Android marketplace, by the way. This app features their little unisex alien characters, which I think are pretty cool. And I think the developers were smart in using a gender-neutral character, which no other AAC app does. And the default voice used in the app is also gender-neutral. And in fact, I was thinking about it when I was gathering this presentation together, and the characters, being they're kind of cute alien fellows or ladies or whatever you want to call them, they're also ethnicity neutral, which is kind of nice. So it seems instead of bouncing from side to side trying to meet the requirements of male and then female users and different ethnicities, the developers went straight down the center of the road, and I think they made a good decision with that. Voice for You contains only about 150 custom icons. I'm going to flip over to my next slide. This default artwork, the 150 custom icons, they're well drawn up and they look good. But even though 150 sounds like a lot, it's not once you get using Voice for You. And I should mention that this is one of the few, maybe the only app that has default icons for speech therapy and occupational therapy, 2 things that are related to disabilities, as you might know. So someone was thinking when they were developing this one. You can also add your own voice or whoever's voice you want to the app, and of course add your own pictures. So it's easy to customize. Good thing since it only has 150 icons built in. When it comes to searching for what you want to say, you can browse alphabetically, type in a search, view the popular list, view the recent list, or browse by category. So they make it easy to find what you're looking for. If someone has this app, this is one of them that you need little or no training to use. So it's good to go right out of the box. Not that you actually get a box when you purchase an app anyway, but you know what I'm saying. And my beef with Voice for You, my criticisms for it, changed over this last weekend when the developer issued a new update. And I had a chance to check out the update. They addressed some of the things that I thought were flaws in it. Like previously, the settings weren't tucked away where little fingers can't get to them. But in their latest update, they sort of fixed that problem. They didn't quite tuck them away. I think they could do better with it. So it may still be an issue, but I haven't had a chance to really verify it in depth. Okay, you also can't hide certain icons, and any custom icons you create are going to have a different voice associated with them, which is pretty common among AAC apps, because you wouldn't have the default voice attached to your custom icons. $29.99. Let me see, I'm going to flip over to my next slide and talk about Look to Learn real quick. It looks like I got 5 minutes to cover this one. And the ones I don't cover are reviewed on my website, autismepicenter.com. Okay, this app is probably the one that's most like using PEX. That was the Picture Exchange Communication System. As you can see in my first bullet up there, sort of like PEX, but the PIC speaks. I thought that was kind of a witty line. Anyway, there's a simple premise here. Two pictures. I'm going to flip over to the screenshots. Two pictures. This would be the image that's on the right. If it's not loaded up on your screen yet, you'll see it in a second. You get the two pictures, you touch. I want, in this case I have it, the little boy there, you touch that and it says, I want, and then you touch the other object. And it would say, apple. You know, so it's nice in the fact that it's simple like that.
Okay, so Derek has a quick question. Do you list on your site which apps you have reviewed have a free light version to try out?
Good question. In fact, I almost answered it without flipping on my microphone. Only one AAC app has a free version that you can try out without having to make the purchase. That app is called MyTalk or MyTalk Mobile, and it's really good too. You'll find that review on my website. And let me see. Yeah, that's the only one that has a free version, and that is, again, I said the word plenty of times in my little expression here, it's a big deal. That is nice. Really quick about Look to Learn, the real beauty here is in its simplicity, and the developer has wisely hidden all their settings in the device's own settings area, so little fingers can't get to them and change the application or get frustrated because they're outside of the app. One caveat is, although you can add all the images you want, you can't create new categories. You're stuck with the original 6 categories that you see on the image right there on the left-hand side. But since the app is designed to be simple to use, so that limitation might be by design. Being able to adjust the size of the icons in the app makes Look to Learn better for those with fine motor challenges, because they may need a bigger image to touch, and of course also for those with visual impairments. Funny, but the next app that I was going to discuss as I flip on to my next slide was MyTalk Mobile, but you can read my review on Autism Epicenter of it because it looks like I'm out of time. So I'm going to thank you all and hand this back over to LaCandice.
Shane, if you want to just cover this last app, you have time.
Okay, I have time. MyTalk is organized by board, and it has child boards beneath the parent boards. It's similar to the organization of Proloquo2Go and a couple of the other top-tier apps. In fact, I would put this one, and I'm making a judgment call here after using all these different AAC apps, that I would put this just under MyChat and Proloquo2Go, but it's also much less expensive, and it has that free version you can check out, which is really nice. It's $39.99 currently. I believe it's going to go up in price before long. But anyway, it's the only one of the free version. Fully customizable with your own pics and your own voice. There's no hide and seek involved in the design and the layout of finding things. Finding the items is logical, especially as you organize them and customize them. It's robust. It offers VGA out, which means you could connect this up to a projector or a large screen TV for, say children in the classroom, like I said earlier. And that is a fantastic feature. Text-to-speech, it even offers that if you have Wi-Fi connected. Everything can be done through the app. And as I mentioned, it's the only one that offers a free version that you could check out, a fully functional free version. I think the free version limits you to being able to use 10 different icons So it doesn't give you full functionality of, there's a reason you would want to upgrade to the paid version. But I believe it does all the stuff the paid version does, and it's just limited to that number of icons. But like I said, you can't take any other AAC apps for a test run. I'm going to flip over to the screenshots real quick as I cover this last app. MyTalk offers an online workspace which you'd pay for if you wanted to use it, and it offers better functionality, but you don't have to use it, and it's completely optional. If you want to use it, everything can be done quicker and easier on your computer. You don't have to make all the changes through the app on the device. You could do it on the computer. And I've used that quite a bit, and it is quicker and easier, and then you just sync up wirelessly. You sync up the device with the server, and it works really nice. It has natural sounding voices since they're your own. You record your voice. So fully customizable and everything. As I said, $39.99, but you can start off with the free version. So that's really nice. And I feel like I'm repeating myself. Anyways. If I was quicker and had my laugh track handy, I would give myself an applause right now, but I want to thank Dane and Derek. Thanks to all of you. I appreciate your time.